But we're going to talk about worship. What a challenge worship is. People throughout history have struggled with worship. It makes a difference to God what we do in worship. It makes a difference to God how we worship. It makes a difference to God whether we know who He is, and that when we just know Him beyond knowledge, intellectual knowledge. We need to know God in an experiential way. And so to worship God acceptably, it requires instruction. We've got to learn some things about who God is and why He is worthy of our worship. There's just a lot of instruction that needs to take place in order that you and I can come before God and worship Him acceptably. And we talk also about exaltation. How Isaiah chapter 6, saw God, he saw Jesus exalted. He saw the one on the throne high and lifted up. The train filled the temple where He was sitting. And the seraphim cried out day and night about God and His holiness. It's important you and I see God as He is. In order for us to see God, of course, we see some things about God in the universe itself, but beyond that, we've got to go to the book and learn about God. We talk about motivation. Here are some of the things we talked about along those lines. In order to worship God acceptably, we must be properly motivated to become more like Him, because that's one of the purposes that God has designed worship to have that effect. You see, we tend to become like that which we worship, and we should seek to become more like God, to be godly, and to have fellowship with Him. God made us in the first place that we might commune with Him, and we do so in worship in a very deep way. And to glorify Him through the sacrifice of our praise, to express our love and devotion, and to encourage our brethren, to provoke to love and good works, and further to remember what God has done for each of us. There may be other motivations that we can have that would be proper and scriptural, but these were some that we talked about. We need to be properly motivated to worship God so that we can do so acceptably. Last Lord's Day, we talked about preparation. Preparation. We understand that there are those who lead in worship. Perhaps you're going to be reading the scripture. Perhaps you're going to be waiting at the table. There are various things that we do in a public way in worship that calls upon us to make prior preparation. But really, preparation is something that all of us need to engage in. Not just those who will be speaking. Not just those who will be leading. We talk about a number of things that we do physically speaking to prepare. Physically speaking, our clothes must be clean and prepared. The car must be ready, fueled up. The children must be fed and bathed. There's just a number of things that we do physically to prepare for worship. But beyond that, we saw that the inner man must be prepared too. And it is my hope that this week you remember that. It is my hope that perhaps in a greater way, more than ever before, more than any Sunday before this one, that you were very cognizant of that need to prepare Tim. Prepare to make preparation for the inner man, to come before God. We talked about the need to humble our hearts. If we fail to humble our hearts, likely we won't assemble in the first place. But if we come before God with a haughty, proud, arrogant spirit, could God accept our worship? We need to humbly approach the throne of God. We need to reconcile our hearts. This morning, as Brother Billy led us in our study, he talked about those whose hearts were not in the right place. They were wanting to go back to Egypt, spiritual Egypt. You and I cannot be in spiritual Egypt and worship God acceptably. We cannot be giving our hearts and our lives to the things of selfish interest and the flesh. We need to be purifying our hearts in order that we can be clean, sanctified, and God will hear our prayers and He will recognize our hearts and accept our worship. We talk hearts being clean and purified, prepared to worship God, we need to keep our hearts with all diligence. Because even beyond worship, the heart pertains to life. Guard or keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it flows the issues of life. And so we talked about the need for instruction, exaltation, motivation, preparation. Today we want to talk about worshiping God acceptably requires proper emotion. Proper emotion. You know, God has created you and me in His image. God has made us emotional beings. That is, we feel. We feel certain things, certain emotions. I realize that in the world, and I remember back in school, the days of school, Brother David Underwood, I believe it was, talked about the extremes. And how that in the church we have to be careful about extremes. Sometimes the pendulum will swing in one direction. There's this extreme that people entertain, they practice, they hold to. And then there's the response to that extreme. The pendulum swings back the other way, and then you have the other extreme. And I recall the context of that conversation often to do with law and grace. This idea of God's grace and then God's part of that, and man doesn't do anything, and it goes all the other way, and man does it all. And so there's the extremes. The pendulum can swing in both directions. And I wonder sometimes that the pendulum swings for us as we react to certain things that go on in the religious world with emotionalism. There are those who, for them, worship is all about their feelings. It's all about their emotion. It's about working up themselves into an emotional frenzy. Could it be that you and I, the Lord's church, we see that and we know that it's wrong, and we have responded to the other extreme? So that could it be that we have stripped our worship of all emotion? It's a very dangerous thing to go to extremes. Worshiping God requires proper emotion. Think about the psalmist in Psalm here 42, but all through the Psalms, David and other men of God experienced a wide range of emotions. And those emotions are conveyed in various ways based on events and circumstances that were going on at any given time in their lives. They were experiencing feelings of joy and gladness and cheerfulness and love. And other times there were feelings of anxiety and being overwhelmed with fear. David, the psalmist, and all of us were emotional creatures. God made us that way, and that's because that's the way God is. God is an emotional being. God has feelings too. And the Bible teaches us that we're not to grieve the Holy Spirit. How could the Holy Spirit be grieved if God has no emotion? In Psalm 42, 1 and 2, there is emotion expressed. As the deer pants for the water brooks, so my soul pants for you, O God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. When shall I come and appear before God? In this passage, David expresses a longing for God. He feels it. Worship is not to be mechanical. And David, as he is thinking about God, he is not mechanical in his relationship with God. I remember a few years ago, about 2000, there was a period of time in my life when I was not preaching full time. And I worked for White Hydraulics for about a year while I was preaching for a small congregation. And I worked in second shift. And my brother-in-law helped me get this job. Working with White Hydraulics, a company that built motors, hydraulic motors for scissor lifts. First of all, I started out on the assembly line. Worked there for a few weeks, short period of months. Before I was able to, after this promotion, to go run one of the machines. Making a small part, about yay so, maybe a couple inches in diameter, that commutator they called it. Probably one of the most enviable jobs because it was such light work. But there was one evening as I was working on this machine, making these parts, that I was doing it in a very mechanical way. I got familiar, I got comfortable with the machine, making these parts, running through the process, checking the measurements. And I was just bebopping along this particular night, listening to music. And it was almost like an out-of-body experience, if I could describe it that way. Because I was there, but there was a certain sense in which I was not there. I was just mechanically going through the motions. My mind was on my business to the extent that it had to be, but I was doing it in a very mechanical way. When you and I come before God and worship, and this is routine. I mean, we do this upon the first day of the week. And for many of us, we've been assembling together like this for years. And we have our expectations. We know what to expect. We know what's going to take place before we arrive. And if we're not careful, we can be like I was back in those days, running that machine. We can be worshiping God in a very mechanical way, distance from God and what we're supposed to be doing. Worship. It's based on feelings or truth. John 4, verse 24, God is spirit, and those who worship Him must worship Him in spirit and truth. God is spirit. God has created us a spiritual being housed by a physical tent or tabernacle. And there's that inner man. Worship is not just about the physical. It's about the inner. It's about what's going on with the heart. It's about the inner man. We must be worshiping God. We must be feeling God. Feeling what we're engaged in. Worship. We worship God because God is worthy. Some people today will go to worship if it makes them feel a certain way. They're motivated to go to worship with anticipation that if I go there and I am with these people and they're engaged in this drama and rock music and there's this very emotional presentation going on, if it makes me feel a certain way, then I will go. That's the wrong motivation. If you're looking for the wrong thing, if you're going to a certain location to worship because of the feelings it produces. We worship God because He is worthy. You recall David, after he committed sin with Bathsheba in adultery, a child was conceived, and the child became ill. And for 7 days, David fasted. He cried out to God. And ultimately, the child died. The Bible says that David arose from the earth. He cleaned himself up. And he came before God. He came into the house of God to worship. David did not go to worship because of his feelings or in anticipation of what feelings he might experience once in the house of God. David went to the house of the Lord to worship because he knew that God is worthy of his worship. Is it possible for a Christian to worship God acceptably, devoid of emotion? Is God satisfied with a merely intellectual love, void of any feeling? Think about this. If a husband says to his wife, "Honey, I have chosen to love you, and I am committed to you, but I don't have any particular feelings for you," do you think that she would be satisfied with that? Would she consider that love? For a husband to speak in those terms, "I love you, I have decided, I have chosen intellectually to love you, but I don't have any feelings for you." What on earth do you mean? The spiritual intent, the goal of worship, is not to stimulate a sense of ecstasy. It's not to produce an emotional high. You can read your Bible, Genesis to Revelation, and you will never see that being the purpose of worship. We enter into worship to appear before God, to make our sacrifice to Him. We enter into worship to give, not to receive. That being said, we do receive. In worship, we express to God the inner emotions that have been produced by our recognition of who He is, what He has done, and continues to do on our behalf. This morning, right before I came to the pulpit, we sung about how great Thou art. How great Thou art. You and I recognize how great God truly is. He is worthy of our worship. We're not here to get all worked up, but we are here to feel and express emotion to God. There are three emotions that should be expressed by each of us every time we enter into worship. Three emotions. The expression of love. The expression of love every time you and I come before God to pay homage to Him. It should be readily apparent to God that we love, that we adore Him. First John chapter 4, 15 through 19, the Bible says, "Whoever confesses that Jesus is the Son of God, God abides in him and he in God. So we have come to know and to believe the love that God has for us. God is love, and whoever abides in love abides in God, and God abides in him. By this is love perfected with us, so that we may have confidence for the day of judgment, because as He is, how God is, so also are we in this world. There is no fear in love. The perfect love casts out fear. For fear has to do with punishment. And whoever fears has not been perfected in love. We love because He first loved us. This morning, as you have engaged in worship to God, you can express to God your feelings, that you truly love Him. I pray that you and I are not here today just because of some false motivation. I pray that you and I are not here this morning because of coercion. I pray that you and I are here this morning because we're here voluntarily, willingly. Because more than loving my parents, or more than loving my spouse and wanting their favor and goodwill, more than that, I love God. I love God because He first loved me. My God loves me. And my God has done wonderful things on my behalf. He has sacrificed. Another expression beyond love when we worship should be that of joy. Joy. Worship has been described as a time of celebration. A time of celebrating. Do we see worship? Is there any sense in which you and I can identify with worship as being a time of celebration? As we come before and enter the presence of Almighty God. Oftentimes, these days, at times, we attend funerals. And I suppose that over the past few months and years, there's been a shift in the thinking about funerals to where it is commonly expressed that this will be a celebration. Such a day, such a time, this will be a celebration of life for the one who has departed us. Could it be that there is more joy and celebration in a funeral than there is in the house of the Lord when we worship God? I mean, how wrong is that? How could it be that there would be more celebration at a funeral than there is at the assembly of the Lord's church to worship Him? And so, when we worship God, we shouldn't make it like a funeral. We shouldn't pray and sing as though we're in a funeral. We should sing with enthusiasm as we express to God the joy and love and adoration of our hearts. The expression of joy. Do you know joy? Did you suppose in the first century church, Jerusalem, had just been converted and added to the Lord's family, and they're coming together in God's presence? Don't you know that they were joyful? Don't you know that they were glad? Rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I will say rejoice. Rejoice. The basis is because we've been saved. We're in the Lord. The Lord is our hope. We rejoice in the Lord, His gift, His sacrifice, and the communion we have with God based upon His sacrifice. And finally, every time that you and I enter into worship with God, you and I should express our love and our joy, finally our gratitude. Are we thankful? Someone has said that perhaps of all the emotions that we have, maybe gratitude is the most important. I don't know whether it's true or not, but I do know this. It is very important. it's very important that you and I convey unto God our gratitude for all He has done in bringing us out of Egypt. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to the which indeed you are called in one body. And be thankful. Be thankful. The heart of ingratitude is just as evil as the heart of unbelief. Every day, you and I need to express with our lips, make the sacrifice of praise, express to God our love, our joy, and our gratitude for the great things He has done. You and I, with the help of God, we need to grow in our worship. We need to grow. We need to improve. I know that you're like me. I want God to accept my worship. Worship is an integral part of what it is to be a Christian, a child of God. The expression of love, the expression of joy, and gratitude. You see, it's not all about the physical, the externals. It's not about being mechanical and mindless and thoughtless. It's about pouring out the overflow, pouring out of the God our feelings. And so, we don't come to worship to be charged up emotionally. We come to worship to express to God the true feelings of our heart. This morning, is your heart right with God? If it's not, God, by His providence, His mercy, and His grace, has given you this moment in time to make your heart right with God. If you're a sinner, lost, set away from God because of your unrighteousness, today you come in obedience to the gospel, have all your past sins purged, washed by the blood of Jesus Christ. It's imperative that you believe that Jesus is the Son of God. Do you have that conviction? It's imperative that you repent of your unrighteousness. Is that your heart to be crucified with Christ? It is imperative that you be baptized for remission of your sins, Acts 2:38. Is that your longing today to be washed, to be sanctified, to be made whole? Today, you can respond to the gospel and receive the greatest gift man has ever experienced. The gift of salvation, the hope of eternal life. If you err, by the way, you said, you need to come by repentance, confession, and prayer. We stand ready to assist you as you make your heart right